In the victory formation, they end it, and at 26-20, the Packers knocking off the Miami Dolphins in what many people thought would never happen. I can't believe it. But the Green Bay Packers have done the improbable. 877-867-67. Merry Christmas. What a present, right? If you're a Packers fan, holy mackerel. Goodness gracious. What a game. And for as bad as this team looked, defensively speaking, early on in this one, and for as many people, including yours truly, who were screaming about the soft Joe Barry zone and what they call the Miller defense, where they're running the middle linebackers on the outside, where it just I was beside myself. And for the Packers to come back in this ball game, not only to win it, but not to give up a point in the second half. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Are you a believer? This was the game that everybody pointed to that said, if they win this game, I'll become a believer. Gary's like, no, come on, man. Gary, you were one of the guys that said, they're going to get run over by the Dolphins. They're going to get beat by Miami. They're not going to win. Not going to happen. And then Nathan and everybody else says, well, Tua threw it away. Well, first of all, if he's under pressure, that's on the Packers. Secondly, if you're in the right place at the right time, because the coverage was good, he had to put it high and on the outside, and therefore he overthrew two receivers. The Packers also converted on a fumble. And the Packers today, off of turnovers, ended up with 9 points due to the defense. Look, if you want to say Tua was bad, that's fine. That's fine. But the Packers won yet again. First, it had to beat a bad Bears team, and they did. And you said, well, it's the Bears. Then they beat a team on Monday night in frigid temperatures. That's the defending champion, but they're terrible. Well, they're not going to beat, they're not going to beat Miami. They can't go there and win. And now they did. Not only did they win, they didn't give up a point in the second half. So under your logic, for some of you that want to knock the win, and I'm not completely arguing with you. They didn't play a great game, but they did enough to win. They didn't give up a point in the second half of this ball game. Not a point. They got the turnovers when they needed it. And by your logic, that means the interception that Aaron Rodgers threw was not on it was not on the Dolphins' defense for playing good defense. It should have been pass interference. It was something that was just an underthrown ball, and therefore Miami's not that good, right? It is what it is. Packers get a win. You can make all the excuses you want. They got to win. That's what you wanted. Now you move on. There you go. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, by all means. The Packers get a win. Wayne gets one more dagger call. The Christmas feasts are all going to taste a little bit better tonight. Oh, my goodness. Packers knock off the Miami Dolphins down in Miami, did the improbable. If you watch the pregame on Fox, Kurt Menefee was the only one that picked the Packers. Everybody else in the know, former players and coaches, all picked Dolphins to win by 4 or more. And Kurt Menefee was the only one to pick the Packers. There you have it. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Packers have now won 3 in a row. This game is a little bit costly. Obviously, Aaron Jones was ailing a bit. Why they didn't use him early on in this contest, I have no idea. I know he went over and got his ankle rewrapped over on the sideline. Maybe he was ailing a little bit there. But that big gain that he had midway through the fourth quarter didn't look like it was bothering him there. Even the run that he had down heading in the third quarter that got called back because of a holding penalty, he looked really good there. I don't know why they weren't using him more. It was completely terrible play calling on behalf of Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur has his own issues. Joe Barry still has his issues, but at least he made adjustments in the second half of this game and stopped moving the outside line or the inside linebackers to the outside and started protecting the middle a little bit more. The soft zone is still there. The crossing routes underneath are still there. Those have been problematic for the Packers all season long, but at least Joe Barry made an adjustment. Okay. You could see it. You could see what they were going to do, and it worked. They did get some underneath coverage. They did get a couple of picks because of it. But Matt LaFleur and his play calling, the insistence on throwing on third down, not running the football consistently, always in shotgun. It is just predictable and pathetic. And if he does not change things, they may not last even past Minnesota, much less getting into Detroit. That's for sure. And Rodgers was off today. Rodgers had a bad day today. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Got a lot of people chiming in over in the Bud Light live stream. We are going to get to a lot of your chats over there. We're going to hear from Mike Clemens later on. We're going to hear from Aaron Rodgers. We're going to hear from Matt LaFleur, anybody else inside the locker room as well. Our guy Mike is on the ground as this Christmas day is now celebrated and everything tastes a little bit sweeter. The presents look a little bit nicer. Your family sees a little more cheerful, like you actually want to spend time with them, all because the Green Bay Packers did the improbable today and went in to Miami and ended up getting the win. All right, let's get to the phone calls. Let's go to our buddy Gerard, first out of the chute out there in Delaware. Gerard, Merry Christmas, man. How you doing?
Boy, Merry Christmas, Bill. Santa never fails. But let me tell you, there's a couple of things. The reason I believe that they were in shotgun a lot was because the Dolphins were bringing everybody on almost every play. And I think they felt Rodgers wouldn't even have time to get back and pass. They'd be in the backfield. That's what I believe from just looking at it. And what I'm also saying is the younger players are starting to really come on. You notice, even though Lowry got hurt, Wyatt was getting a lot of the snaps, and he was doing a double team. Those look, Slayton even played. Now, when somebody gets a double team, Kenny Clark's going to look a lot better. Slayton's going to look a lot better. Mm-hmm. Preston Smith had an outstanding game. These guys are going to look a lot better. Even Campbell, right. And Campbell was dropping, like you said. Now, the problem I'm having also is Watson. The guy's got to stay on the field. I mean, I understand people get hurt and everything, Bill, and he has to stay on the field. I mean, this is ridiculous. I think, even if we don't get into playoffs this year, I think there's some positives to look at. So, but we got to see what the injury is. Now, look, also what you're saying is why he was in shotgun. Look, was at the tackles, Bill. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? 70 was at a tackle. Yeah. I think I'd be 20 yards back.
Right. Well, once you had Royce Newman in there, it was like, woof, boy, I tell you what, not the greatest of situations. But you know what? Zach Tom held his own numerous times today on big rush and actually had better blocks going to the outside than he had them on the inside with the interior linemen. Right. So Zach Tom did not have a bad game.
No, Tom didn't, but I think they were just worried about that side.
Sure.
Because don't forget the side that Tom's on is the side where Jenkins is on. And Jenkins is so good at guard.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not, and I think that's a strong suit over there. Whereas the other side, you saw with that defensive lineman on Miami was doing the running. I mean, he was just abusing them almost all game. You see? And that was the sign 70 was on. So that's what you got to look at. And if anybody noticed, on that run by Jones, Lazard knocked 3 guys down with that block.
Yep. That's got to be on. That's got to be on one of the highlight films over on ESPN, like tomorrow morning or something like that on Get Up. Yeah.
Look. Like I said before, Lazard does all this stuff. He's invaluable in a lot of ways. He really is. He might not be. He dropped the big ball, but he really is invaluable in so many ways. So. Well, listen, Bill, you have a great rest of the day. I think I'm going to have a good day. Everything's tasting a little better right now.
Yep, no doubt about it. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon. There you go. That's our buddy Gerard listening to us in Delaware. By the way, for those asking, Aaron Jones today, only 8 touches. He had 25 yards on the ground, was averaging 4.2 yards per carry, and then had 9 yards through the air, 4.5 yards on a couple of catches. But did not have a big day when it came to touching the football. Christian Watson, 6 catches, 49 yards. And also Alan Lazard, 5 catches, 61 yards today. Romeo Doubs, 3 catches, 36 yards. Mercedes Lewis, 2 for 2 today, 32 yards, had the 1 touchdown as well. And A.J. Dillon, he ended up having a couple of catches today, only 12 yards. Patrick Taylor, a big catch, 17-yard catch, gave him a big first down in that drive that they ended up punching it into the end zone. That was a huge play for Patrick Taylor to be able to come in, get the 1 pass, be able to catch it, take off with it, get the first down, kept the drive alive on 3rd down. One of only a couple of times that the Packers actually today converted on 3rd down. Packers, statistically speaking, were awful on 3rd down today. The Packers were 2 of 14 for 14.3% on 3rd down. However, We always talk about third down being a big key statistic. Defensively speaking, in the first half of this game, the Packers were not good. They weren't great, but defensively. But they ended up the game 2 of 7 for 28.6% in this contest. When you go back to the first half on third down efficiency, the Dolphins were 1 of 4. So the Packers only gave up 1 first down on third down, 1 conversion in the second half of this ballgame. But they had given up 271 total yards in the first half. In the first half, they gave up only 105 yards to the Dolphins in the second half of this game. Look, I don't nitpick all you want. I agree. I still think Joe Barry needs to go because he puts them in bad situations more often than not. But damn it, they only gave up 105 yards in the second half of this game. That has to be acknowledged, right? Correct? And reluctantly, we're going to do it. We're going to be like, no, Joe Barry sucks. No, they only gave up 105 yards. They took advantage of turnovers. They did what they were supposed to do, and they came back and won the game. They put up 13 in the first half, 13 in the second half, and held the Dolphins scoreless in the second half of this ballgame. Christmas miracle? I don't know, but we'll take it. Packers still alive. And the best part about it was yesterday, everything that needed to happen happened. The 49ers, they knocked off the Commanders 37-20 yesterday. That needed to happen. You saw the Vikings. They beat the Giants. Reluctantly, I wanted the Vikings to win, but I couldn't root for them. It was just painful. I was more rooting for the Giants just to lose that game. 27-24 and a 61-yard walk-off field goal. And the Giants get beat. The Seahawks needed to go down. The Chiefs beat them 24-10 yesterday. The Lions got beat by the Carolina Panthers 37-23. Everything that needed to happen happened for the Green Bay Packers yesterday. It's all you wanted. And all the Packers had to do was win today and keep hope alive. And damn it, that's exactly what they did. It's exactly what they did. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Let's get back to it. Peter listening to us in Toledo. Peter, what's going on, man? We're all over the country today. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well, Bill. I'm a believer, Bill, and that's all I really have to say. I'm a believer. I think, man, the Packers have shown a lot of toughness and a lot of resiliency. All I got to say is, yeah, if we got to root for the Commanders and Giants to keep on losing, Packers are going to win out, and that's all I got to say about that. But I tell you what, can't wait for next week. Against the Vikings.
I know. That's a big one.
And then, so that's all I got to say, Bill. I'm just real excited about the Packers. Love your show. So
appreciate it, man.
I've called in once.
Thanks, pal. No, appreciate it. Thanks for taking a listen to us, and thanks for calling in anytime. Give us a call back. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Brett says, Merry Christmas, and is Tua Santa Claus? He delivered a few. Packers were putting him under pressure. Coverage was pretty good. He threw the ball high, overshooting. What's really funny is whenever Aaron Rodgers throws a bad pass, Aaron sucks, and the coverage was good, and he wasn't open. Why are they throwing it to that guy? Right? But if the Packers get a couple of picks, it's not the defense. It's the fact that Tua just stunk and threw it right to him. You can't have it both ways. It bothers me tremendously when people want to downplay a win because of are there problems? Absolutely, there's still problems. But do you see this? Here's the other question, and this is probably a more realistic question. Do you see this team getting better? Do you see this team getting better? You'd have to, right? Here's the thing. They beat the Bears they were supposed to. They knocked off the Rams. The Rams sucked. Well, this was going to be the game. This was going to be the game where they get dump trucked. The meeting, we're talking next week about whether or not they're going to start Jordan Love and all of that. Because nobody thought they were going to beat Miami, right? I didn't pick them to win. Did you? I don't think. I mean, there were some hopeful people, but if you really legitimately had to sit down and put your money, your mortgage for your home on the Packers this weekend, chances are you didn't. Right? Realistically, we're probably in the same boat. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Greg says, do you ever go back and look at your earlier negative remarks? Absolutely. I know exactly what I say, Greg. I know I call it like I see it. When things suck, I'll tell you they suck. When things are good, I'll tell you they're good. I point out positive plays. You ever go back and look at some of the positive things I say? Greg, that makes you a dumbass. Let's get back at it. This is from Boots. Says Rodgers did look bad today. Yes, he did. He didn't play a good game. Gotcha. All Out News says the only way they get better is if Rodgers stops the crap shotgun offense and Joe Barry's play calling gets a little bit better along with the run D stepping up. Now, let me go back to this here for a second. Okay, go back to this here for a second. When you talk about Rodgers calling the plays, Rodgers isn't calling the plays. This was something that's a misnomer earlier this year, and we've talked about it. It's been asked. Rodgers has talked about it. LaFleur has talked about it. Rodgers specifically has said, "I'm not calling the plays. I get an either or. I don't get my own set of plays until we get to the 2 minute offense. That's it. He's not calling them. He gets an either or. And most of the time, it's not a run or a pass. It's a formation. That's it. So the whole thing of Rodgers calling the plays and it's all on Rodgers. And no, you can't do that. Can't do that. Isaac said, what happened to Christian Watson? Christian Watson left with a hip injury. A hip injury in the, I think it was early in the third quarter. He ended up leaving with a hip injury. And it's just, it just can't stay on the field, man. Just can't stay in the field. That's it's just frustrating. And you hope it's not serious. Because hip injuries, man, they can be devastating, especially when it comes to your speed. You know? 877-867-1670. Let's do this. Packers get a win. They knock off the Miami Dolphins in Miami. 26-20. Nice Christmas present for everybody here. Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get back at it. Green and Gold postgame show. It's brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. And again, we're going to come back with your phone calls, reaction, emails, tweets. You get a hold of us. We're talking about it. Merry Christmas. The Green Bay Packers, 26-20. They get a win. We'll be right back.
This is the Green and Gold postgame show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Knock off the Miami Dolphins and live to fight another day. They've got another week of talk about the possibility of getting to the postseason. Everything so far, it's getting a little eerie, has broken right for them. And it would have been a tragedy had this team not capitalized today. After everything they needed to happen happened yesterday. The Commanders, they got beat by the 49ers. Then you had the Vikings knock off the Giants. The Chiefs beat the Seahawks. Everything you needed to happen happened. And the Lions got beat by the Panthers. Everything fell in your direction. Had you come out today and lost this game, it would have been tragic. Packers hang in there for a win. And 26-20 and knock off the Dolphins. Now a win. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't. Now, how good is this team to win a game that's not pretty? Think about that. How good is this team in your eyes to win a game like this, where Tua has the ball sail on him a couple of times, right place, right time? Things are starting to snowball a little bit on Miami, and the Packers went in there and took advantage of it. Aaron Rodgers, in his last 14 games in December, is now 15-0. 15-0. And they've got 2 games remaining. One more in December. One more in the new. Actually, no, I take that back. It's in the new year next year. 15-0 in December. Can they keep this magic going into January? 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Let's go to Jesse listening to us down in Louisiana. Jesse, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Big Billy Unit Michaels.
What's
Merry
happening, man?
Christmas, sir.
You too, pal. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, Rasul Douglas gets his second game-winning interception back-to-back Christmases. Last year, me and my fiance traveled from Louisiana to go see our first Packers game at Lambeau Field. That was the game sealer against Baker Mayfield. And then for him to do it again today, amazing. The refs really letting them play today on much of those contested plays. But even if this is the last win of the season, I'll take it. It's a Christmas miracle, and let's keep this thing going. Cheers to everybody out there. Much love. Peace.
Absolutely. He drops off. You get on board. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. This portion of the program, as always, the postgame show brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. What else we got? Rick says too many holding calls. We did have some holding calls in the offensive line today. Untimely ones again, man. Rick also says you need some luck this time of year, which, you know, and I said this, if by chance the Packers would win out, if by chance they win out, okay, first of all, they will have won 5 in a row. They'll be one of the hottest teams in the NFL going into the postseason. Would you not agree? Right? Secondly, you would assume, although today was a little bit of a downplay of that because Lowry ended up going down, Christian Watson went down, you had Aaron Jones in and out of the game with his ankle today. So you had more than a few guys. You had Royce Newman ended up coming in for Josh Nijman today due to injury. You had some injuries today. But you would assume over the next 2-3 weeks, you're going to start to get guys back. You're hoping that the Christian Watson injury is not severe to the hip, because those hip injuries, if it's a hip pointer, that's one thing. If it's a hip injury, a strain, a dislocation, anything like that pops back, something that pops in, man, that can be really painful, and it can keep you out for a long period of time. So you're crossing your fingers, knocking on wood a little bit, that that's not a serious injury. But you would assume they're going to be a pretty healthy team going into the postseason. They'll be hot by this point in time with Tua, everybody else that's throwing picks. You'll be lucky, right? And you'll obviously be pretty good to come back and dig out of the hole that you dug yourself into earlier this year. You'll have a lot of things working for you going into the postseason. And I said it earlier in the week, on the my regular show. I said, can you imagine? Think about this now. Can you imagine Vikings getting that big win yesterday? 61-yard walk-off field goal. Place is going nuts. You come into Lambeau Field next week and you get beat in a cold, frigid game. It's like, you pretty much got, the North is wrapped up, but you're just trying to jockey for seeding at this point. You kind of know where you're at. And I keep going back. And now I can't draw the direct similarity. Okay. I'm not doing that other than to say, in conjunction with the Packers and who they would play in the first round of the postseason. I just remember in that game against the Bears, going back to 2010, and it was kind of like, the Bears were trying to win. We knew that. It was at Lambeau Field. It was a cold game. Bears were trying to win. And I remember talking to Brian Urlacher after the game when the Packers won. The Packers weren't supposed to win that game. The Bears were supposed to win it. They were supposed to end the Packers season, put them out of their misery. But the Bears had everything pretty much wrapped up, and they didn't put them out of their misery. And I remember Urlacher saying, everybody else was saying, you know what? So what? We've got this. We're now concentrating on the postseason, blah, blah, blah. And Urlacher was the only one who said, I think we just let the giant wake up. And he was right. Packers ended up getting on a roll. They ended up going down to Chicago. They won the NFC Championship game, went on to win a Super Bowl. Now, do I think this is a Super Bowl winning team? No. James Jones, Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Jermichael Finley, all those guys, Clay Matthews at his peak, Charles Woodson at his peak, A.J. Hawk at his peak, Nick Collins, Jamal Williams, Tramon Williams, none of those, nobody's walking through that door. But wouldn't it be ironic if the Packers won next week? The Vikings kind of took it easy because they're resting some guys. Kind of took it easy, but they're jockeying for position. But early on in the game, say the Packers get up and the Vikings, they let the Packers get past them, only to allow, quote, the giant to wake up a little bit. And then the Packers go into Minnesota, because that's the way it would play out right now if the Packers got into the postseason. They were the 7th seed. Go into Minnesota and then knock off the Vikings, even though they probably won't go any further than that. But how ironic would it be if they went into Minnesota and knocked the Vikings off after the Vikings started off their season so positively by beating the hell out of the Packers, only to allow the Packers to wake up and go into Minnesota and ultimately knock them off? How apropos would that be? Oof. Think about that. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, feel free to go ahead and do so. Let's do this. I'm going to step away, take a quick break. We got a lot of people on hold. I want to get to everybody on the phones. I want to get to everybody over in the Bud Light live stream. You hang in there. Packers get a win. It is a relatively, what do we want to call it? A joyous Christmas day if you're a Packers fan. Going to go ahead and take a quick break. 26-20, the Packers knock off the Miami Dolphins down in Miami. We'll be back right after this.
This is the Green and Gold postgame show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in a minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The Gringo Postgame Show brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Oh, so good. Make it a Bud Light kind of year. And remember, next weekend during New Year's Eve and the parties and such. Drink responsibly. Compliments of our friends over there at Bud Light. Here's 2 questions for you. Now think about this for a minute. All right? Just hang in there with me. Today, for those that did not know, today, Mason Crosby, 3 for 3 in the field goal department. He's now up to, I believe it's like 86, 87%. Puts him in the top half of all kickers. His only misses this year, one was blocked from 40 to 49 yards. He had one blocked. That was a bad snap. Ball setup was late, and it got blocked. Other than that, he's 0 for 2 in kicks, field goals that are 50-plus yards. Okay, so he's 0 for 2, which is the reason why earlier in the game when people were saying he should have kicked the field goal, it would have been a 56-yarder. He has come up short and missed. Oh, he's 0 for 2 on kicks beyond 50. Yeah. Now, would you say that Mason Crosby has redeemed himself this year after what everybody just kind of ripped him apart last year? Has he redeemed himself this year? And then the second question, and Mike Clemens just texted me this. We were sitting here kind of, chatting out off the air. He's going to join us later on today in the program. But Mike said, by any chance, does this begin the redemption? I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I got to ask you. The redemption for Joe Barry. Oh, I know. We're all rolling our eyes and putting our palm to forehead right now, right? Heck yeah, I am right there with you. But think about this now for a second, okay? Think about it now. When the defenses had to come up big, okay, they gave up 27 against the Titans at home, and they gave up 40 against the Eagles. They looked terrible. Since then, they've given up 19, 12, and 20. 19, 12, and 20. The Packers' offense is averaging now 26.4 points per game, and the defense is giving up 16.8 points per game in the last 3. Now, against bad teams, I get that, but let that sink in there for a minute. Oh, see, I agree. I'm like, no. First of all, the season has not finished yet because next 2 weeks it could be horrible. But could you start looking over that fence? I think not. But just throwing it out there. It's actually a question that's being asked. 877-867-1670. Let's go to our buddy Mike down in Whitewater. Michael, how you doing, pal?
Merry Christmas to you and Kirsten.
You too, buddy.
To your families for later. I thought, like you said, Rodgers didn't play really well. He missed some receivers. Again, when he got short yardage, we're going to the end zones. I just can't understand that, especially, and then first half I thought, oh, here we go. This is going to be a run out. And like you said, the defense played better. But here's my question reversed to you on Barry. Is he got people in there now that understand what they're being taught? When you take some of those other guys out, like Savage,
right,
and some of those guys, is these guys, but I agree, they still gashed with the runs because you got people that can't get off of blocks and everything else. But a good win, happy for it, and I didn't lose any money.
Well,
have a great Christmas,
all right,
Billy.
buddy. You too. Talk to you soon. That's our buddy Mike in Whitewater. That's a great question because Darnell Savage Jr. did come back into this game today. The one time he was highlighted, he was running backwards downfield when the ball was completed in front of him for a first down. And I even thought to myself, I almost tweeted it out, and then something else happened and it caught my attention. But I even thought at one point, I'm like, hey, what is he doing? Is he freelancing or not? What I don't understand is why is Jair Alexander not on the number one receiver? Why is he not on Tyreek Hill? We kept seeing Tyreek Hill find soft zones, find space downfield. At one point in time, both Adrian Amos and Rudy Ford were chasing him. He can blow past both of those guys. Both of those guys were chasing him. They look like kindergartners chasing a professional athlete. He just had him beat. Rudy Ford, his arms were just flailing. I thought he was drowning. Why do they insist on not putting Jair on their best receiver? That still blows my mind. Still blows my mind. 877-867-1670. Mashari is listening to us, I believe, in Saudi Arabia. Mashari, are you there?
Yes. Hi. Merry Christmas and congratulations on the Packers win.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I am a Packers fan from Saudi Arabia. And my question is, what do you think the Packers will be able to beat the Vikings next week? And what happens if the Packers lose? Will they be out of the playoffs?
Oh, boy, that's a great question. Mashari, thanks so much for listening to us in Saudi Arabia. First of all, going back to your first question, listening to us in Saudi Arabia, by the way, the Packers, can they win next week? Yes, I believe they can. Then when you talk about what happens if they lose, there's a whole scenario that says the Packers still have hope, but I think it goes down to like 2%. It goes down to like 2% once the Packers lose. It's like they're not mathematically eliminated, but so much would have to happen for them to then be still in contention. It would be unlikely. It's pretty much win and you're in, if indeed, because all you need now is the Commanders to lose a game. That's it. All you need now is for the Commanders to lose one more game and you win out and you're in, because everything else has happened that you needed to happen. I don't know if you know that or not. The Commanders in that game against the Giants last week, they got beat. Then they got beat by the 49ers again. So all you needed them to do was lose 3 out of 4. Now, Seattle, you had to lose 2 out of 4. They lost again yesterday, so they've lost their 2 out of 4. So either you've got the Commanders get beat by the Browns next week, or they get beat by the Cowboys in the last week of the season. One of those two. And the Packers went out, and they're automatically in. Now, if you go back, and you could still have the Giants completely lose out as well. If the Giants continue to lose, and the Giants have had the propensity to lose. We all know that. You look at the Giants the rest of the way with the next couple of games, because the Giants got beat by the Vikings. Most likely you would assume the Giants will get knocked out by the Eagles in the last game of the season, but the next one they have coming up on January 1st is against the Colts, and that's actually in the Meadowlands. I can't see the Giants losing that game, but I can see Washington losing one of their next 2. That's all you need. So you've got everything you need. You've got everything you need. So appreciate the phone call. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, go ahead and do so. This one's from Jake. Jake says, I would not hang up the cleats of Mason Crosby just yet. He's been money when you've needed him the most. Last year was a bad year, but was it more about the process or was it more about Mason Crosby? I said all along I thought it was about the process, and people ripped me for it. But I always know what I see and what I hear. And I'll always kind of bow to the powers that be. When Mason Crosby has direct questions, and when you saw Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, where Bojorquez was having trouble with the laces, and when you kind of get and understand the physics of the ball when it leaves the foot, and especially anything over 30 yards, when the laces aren't directly forward or backward, where the issues come into play. And I understood all of that. And that's why I kind of was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to blame all of this on Mason Crosby. I think eventually it just got into his head, yes. But in the beginning, I don't think it was all on Mason Crosby. I'm not going to go that far. 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. The Jocelyn says, big win for the Green Bay Packers. Merry Christmas to one and all. I believe that they can do it. If they win out and keep giving up less than 20 points per game, does Joe Barry keep his job? Jocelyn, let's do this. Let's cross that bridge when we get there, because over the next 2 weeks, anything can happen, right? Let's, there's a lot of ifs. I'm certainly hoping not, because we know this defense played horrifically mid-portion of the season. So I don't know if I necessarily want to go there. I still am thinking to myself, if I'm going to upgrade the coaching staff in any particular way, I'm probably line defensive coordinator. Those two positions. LaFleur has to take a serious look at himself and why they're calling the plays the way they are. They are so much more effective when Aaron Rodgers is under center. He's going through play action. When you got motion and movement, they're just so much more effective consistently. And constantly running the football out of shotgun, especially on third down situations or second down situations, you're not giving your guys a head of steam to open it up. It's consistently bad. And today they were horrific on third down. Didn't matter what they did. But also there were 2 or 3 times that I noted during the game. I mean, you had guys open. You may not have picked up the first down, but you would have lived to fight another day. And instead, this whole thing about constantly having to throw the ball downfield, just never understood it. You don't have the matchups you used to have, and yet they continue to force the ball downfield, which is maddening. But let's do this. We're going to take a quick break and come back. Keep getting into this. A lot of people over on the Bud Light live stream. Merry Christmas to one and all. The Packers get a win. They knock off the Dolphins. We're going to continue more of the Green and Gold postgame show brought to you by Bud Light next.
This is the Green and Gold postgame show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Phil Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Packers get a win, and we are brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Green and Gold postgame show. 26-20, they keep their hopes alive, and everything that needed to happen for the Green Bay Packers yesterday happened. The Packers are 2 wins of their own and 1 loss of the Commanders away from finding themselves in the postseason. Everything else has fallen into place. Everything. Coming up after the top of the hour, we're going to hear from the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, so stay tuned for that. Going to get his thoughts on this contest. I hope to God somebody asks him, Matt, what is the insistence of shotgun and running the ball out of shotgun and going deep on second and third and short? What is the insistence there? I just, it is mind boggling. And I'm trying to I haven't sat down and actually put the numbers together for patterns, but it can't be good. I know a few weeks ago, it was one of the things on the NFL Network they were talking about the Packers out of shotgun and how bad they are in second and third and short situations, and the amount of times that they go deep and have incompleted passes because of it. I can't fathom why they keep doing it. Can't fathom. And their red zone offense right now sucks. It just does. It's not I love the creativity to go to Big Dog. It was great. It was a perfect play. It was a good play call. But there's far too many times that shotgun, Rodgers, pat, hold it, look, and then try to squeeze it into some place that he shouldn't. I don't understand especially when you get down there and you're close, first and second down. Why are you not taking at least a shot at running the football? And had it not been for the turf monster a couple of times, A.J. Dillon probably would have scored. That's just a part of their game. They just throw out the window for whatever reason when they get close to the goal line. Drives me nuts. Thomas said the fake punt, horrible. I thought it was terrible too. To me, it showed signs of desperation, and you didn't need to show a sign of desperation at that point in the game. Now, give credit to the defense, because in that situation, the defense was given a horrific field position to work with, and they held them to a field goal. They were basically in field goal position when they started that drive. So I completely appreciate the fact that the defense held right there. So the last 4, 5, 6 drives, the defense actually held up for the Green Bay Packers. You know, when you look at this is the way it ended, okay? Think about this, okay? Because that field goal in which they went 7 plays, 14 yards, they got the ball after the Packers ended up throwing they picked it up on downs, okay? So they picked the ball up on downs, and Miami got the ball deep in Packer territory. They ended up going 7 plays, 14 yards. They had a 10-yard penalty, and they end up kicking a field goal. They get down to the Packers 16. They ended up kicking a field goal, but they got the ball in Packers territory anyway. The next drive, they fumbled. The next drive, they get the ball on the kickoff, but it was basically to end the half, okay? So they go fumble, end of half, then 10 plays, 45 yards down to the Packers 30, which was a 47-yard field goal. They missed it wide right. And then after that, the last 3 times they touched the ball in the fourth quarter, 1 play, interception, 9 plays, 57 yards, interception, 2 plays, 3 yards, then an interception. So the last 5 drives, the Packers created 4 turnovers. Think of that. The last 5 times the Dolphins touched the football, the Packers had 4 turnovers. That's saying something. Now, again, I'm not sitting here today going, you know what? Joe Barry's a genius. That isn't happening. But they didn't give up any points, and they stood steadfast, and they picked the ball off. They found the football. That's a hell of an accomplishment. It really is. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. If you got something to say, bring it. Mark says, what did Rodgers' numbers look like today? He couldn't have had a very good quarterback rating down in Miami. He never plays well there. As a matter of fact, his quarterback rating was 78.6. He was 24 of 38, much better in the second half, started to heat up, 238 yards, sacked a couple of times on the day, once in the first half, once in the second half. Had a touchdown pass in the second half as well, and ended up with the 1 pick on the day. And again, 78.6 quarterback rating. Tua, by the way, 16 of 25, 310 yards, sacked a couple of times, under pressure 5 times, 2 of which he ended up throwing picks on. And so he ended up with 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown, the longest being the 84-yard touchdown to Waddle. How that happened after the quick turnaround, that was pathetic. And the fact that nobody could catch him was just even more disconcerting. But beyond that, the Packers didn't play poorly against Tua. They gave up that 1 big play. And one of the things I think that was noted in the locker room at halftime, we're going to hear, I think it was Jair or Rasul or Amos. Well, somebody said it after the game. I was kind of looking at some of the game notes, said that when they got into the locker room, Jerry Gregg got in their ass big time in the secondary, saying, giving up way too many big plays. What the hell are you doing? I mean, apparently just really unloaded on them and let them have it. And they came out and played much more tenacious in the second half of that ballgame. 877-867-1670. Find us. Good stuff. Packers going to win. And at least for another week, we move on and we talk about the possibility of what could be as this season continues to wind down. Could the Packers just grab some victories out of the jaws of defeat and actually make this season worth something by the time it's all said and done, and create a little positivity going into 2023? We didn't think it was going to happen. We put the dagger in them going back to that Detroit game when they looked so horrible, and Rodgers had 3 red zone picks. He has had a less than stellar season coming off of back-to-back MVP years. But at the time, he had a couple of passes today. That one pass, that over-to-the-shoulder pass to Lazard, that was a thing of beauty. You know, I know people rip Rodgers for certain things and some of the throws he had today, but that was a thing of beauty. The pass to Mercedes Lewis, thing of beauty. The pass to Watson today, thing of beauty. He had 3 or 4 just unbelievable passes on the move, cross the body, and still was able to throw. And that flick of the wrist one to Lazard down the sidelines, that, you know, for as much as I pound on Rodgers at times about bad decision making, that was a thing of beauty. It just was. It just was. 877-867-1670. Bad TV guy says 4th and 2 and 30-yard pass down the sideline, frustrating to watch. We were talking about that earlier. Ryan says, I like Watson, but he's turning into Julio Jones with an every week injury, right? That's a great analogy. He's got this incredible speed, the ability to make a catch, is getting better at catching the ball out in front of him. Although Romeo Doubs today had a couple of drops. They had 3 drops on Rodgers today, as a matter of fact. 2 of them were costly because they would have been first downs. I completely agree with you, but he's just looking like he's going to be just banged up. He's going to get 2, 3, 4 good games out of him, and then he's going to get nicked up. And you hope that whatever this hip injury is, it doesn't keep him out for a long period of time. You hope that he's able to come back sooner rather than later, obviously, because they're going to need him down the stretch, especially if, God forbid, they do get into the postseason. So love to see it. Again, 877-867-1670. Another hour yet to go. Coming back after the top of the hour, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers at the podium. Going to hear from Matt LaFleur. Also going to hear from Aaron Rodgers. Anything else that we get out of the locker room as well. Our guy, Mike Clemens, going to be joining us coming up here in about 45 minutes, so stay tuned for that. Hang in there. We got a whole lot more coming up on this Christmas Day in which the Green Bay Packers get a nice gift. They give the fans a gift. You unwrap the present. You were sitting down. You're thinking, you know what? Don't eat until after about 3:30, 4 o'clock. That's when we'll feast. During the game, let's do a little snacking. You know, we got the meats, we got the cheeses, we got the chips, we got the dips, we got the veggie trays, we got the peppers, we got the carrots, we got the celery sticks. We're good. Let us just munch a little bit, maybe a little nibble on a pie or something, and then boom, the Christmas gift shows up. 26-20. The Green Bay Packers get the win. We're brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Green and Gold Postgame Show. Stay tuned. Another hour yet to come right after this.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from hospitals, nauseous, isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and America's largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies through our many varied programs, including free safety equipment donations, free officer survival training, cash donations, and condolence letters to the family of law enforcement officers who perished in the line of duty. USDSA also offers college scholarships for the dependent children of law enforcement, along with a citizen awareness program and thank you cards to law enforcement. These are just some of the ways United States Deputy Sheriff's Association assists America's law enforcement and the citizens they serve. For more information about United States Deputy Sheriff's Association or to see how you can help, visit www.usdeputy.org. United States Deputy Sheriff's Association, taking training to the next level because lives are on the line.
Blue 58, go! Green 18, Green 19, touch! This is the Green and Gold postgame show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio.
Packers give everybody an early Christmas gift. Maybe an early New Year's gift, maybe even. We open everything up today, and then before we maybe share the rest of our gifts coming up tonight, boom, 26-20. There's a win. Packers keep the faith alive, I guess is the best way to put it. They knock off the Miami Dolphins down in Miami in less than Miami-like weather, 52 degrees. No rain. Didn't end up raining like they were predicting early in the week, but still, it wasn't Miami weather. It was more Packer weather than anything, and a good chant of "Go Pack Go" ringing throughout the stadium and such. And the Packers get a win, and they live to fight another day. And everything they needed to happen this past weekend, for everybody that's asking, happened. Because at the beginning of all of this, they needed the Washington Commanders to lose 3 of their next 4. They have now lost 2 out of their last 2. They need to lose 1 out of their next 2. And the Packers obviously win out. And the Packers would be in. Why? Because Seattle has now lost their second game. They need to lose 2 of their next 4. They lost their second one against the Chiefs yesterday, 24-10. They ended up getting beat. The Giants got beat, as we all saw, in that incredible 61-yard field goal walk-off up at U.S. Bank Stadium. So the Giants got beat yesterday as well. And even the Lions got beat by the Carolina Panthers, 37-23. So the Lions are 7-8. The Packers are 7-8. And the Packers are gaining momentum on everybody. And all they have to do now is win out. If they won out and Washington lost 1 of their next 2, the Green Bay Packers would then be in the postseason. That's all they need to happen now because they've taken care of that business. If Washington continues to win, then they would need the Giants to lose 2 of their next, both of their next games to then be in. But one of those 2 things have to happen, and the Packers, if they win out, will find themselves in regardless. So good stuff. Good stuff. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670 if you want to give us a shout. Kevin said, you asked me if I'm a believer. Not just yet, but I'm becoming a believer. For whatever reason, this team is starting to catch some magic. Things are starting to fall their way. When they didn't call the pass interference in the end zone, I thought the Packers were destined to lose this game. But instead, Tua gave us a couple. They came back and they got a win. They did just enough, and they're figuring out ways, and that's what good teams do. I still have faith in Matt LaFleur. I still don't have faith in Joe Barry, but at least he's not going to get in the way enough for this team to lose enough ball games to then be out of the postseason. All you got to do is, not plural, it would be singular. They lose a ball game, they're pretty much done. They still have the ability to get there, but it's a long road, put it that way. So there you have it. Ian says, I love my Green Bay Packers, had faith all along. I think they're going to find themselves in the postseason. They will knock off the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. And after that, let the chips fall where they may. Good stuff. Let's do this. Matt LaFleur at the podium. Let's take a listen to what the head coach has to say.
First off, it was, that was a resilient win by our team. Super proud of the guys in that locker room. Just, sticking together, no flinch. It wasn't pretty. Certainly, I think a lot of times when you kick a bunch of field goals, that's usually just enough to get you beat. And we got to be better in the red zone. Obviously, you got to give these guys better calls. But can't say enough about our defense, especially the first half. Obviously was not up to our standard, but in the second half, definitely made a few adjustments, and our guys really went out there and executed. And anytime you have 4 takeaways in a game, you should win that game. And so that's a really good football team. The Dolphins, they got a lot of explosive playmakers like we knew, and they do a great job. And but just super proud of our guys' effort today and their ability to go out there and find a way to win.
Some adjustments defensively. Can you tell us a little bit about just what some of those were to clamp down on them?
Well, I just think it comes down to all 11, playing the call and doing the best they can. And I think our guys, it seemed like we were getting a little bit more pressure up front onto him, making a move out of the pocket. And we knew he's a guy that's going to anticipate, and he's going to let the ball go. But if you can read the quarterback the right way, that also gives you some opportunities defensively. And our guys did a great job of that.
What's the key to stopping Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill? The second half, these guys seem to be doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I just think, again, I think in the first half, there were a couple plays where we had some busted coverages and they got behind us. And, those are 2 guys that are as electric as it comes in the National Football League. And, if you give them a sliver of light, they're able to take a little 10-yard pass and to make it a house call. So I thought, just collectively, all 11 being on the same page, making sure we're not giving them as much green grass out there. And, our guys did a good job of reading the quarterback. And I thought Joe did a really good job in the second half.
You mentioned kicking too many field goals. I mean, you had to feel like you were giving them maybe 1 too many chances.
Yeah, definitely. Especially there at the end. There was some discussion about if we could get into, I think it was a 4th and 3 at the end right there. We're trying to get to like 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 and then go for it. But it just made the decision, and I'm glad we made that decision because it ended up working out, and it doesn't always. But, I kind of thought the way our defense was playing in the second half that we would keep them out of the end zone at least.
Do you have an option to decline that offside? Because they clearly did that on purpose.
Yeah. I knew that they did that on purpose, and there was discussion about whether or not we should decline it. So, I just do you get the free set of downs? I know it was 2nd and short, so those are ones that you just always, you can always look back and second guess. So should you take it or not?
You had some guys go down with injuries. I guess can you just talk about some of the guys who stepped up in those situations? Thump was out there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we had a lot of guys. Certainly never want to see that happen, but losing Keyshawn and not only as a returner was huge, but then defensively and Thump going in there doing a great job. I thought Sav went in there, and he's been a pro throughout this whole deal where he's not playing as much, and he went out there and made a difference for us in the second half. And offensively, you got Royce Newman going in there at tackle. And so, but that's what it takes. And you losing Christian Watson was a big deal as well. That's unfortunate because he is an explosive guy. You can see his speed, and he's able to he took that one slant like 20 yards, and you can get some explosion plays with a guy like that. So losing those guys, but it was cool to see whenever you do lose somebody who's going to step up and who's going to take the opportunity. I noticed Devontae Wyatt was out there a lot more than he has been, and I thought he did an outstanding job from what I could see. Now we got to go back and take a look at the tape, just to really detail it up and see how it really was. But I just thought there was a lot of guys, and it was a total collective team effort, and did just enough to get the win.
Good.
All right, guys, thanks.
There you go. That's Matt LaFleur after the ball game talking about a lot of different things. I thought Going back to the discussion for, when we were talking about Tua, and some people said, well, Tua kind of gave it away. That last interception, Rasul Douglas baited him into that, got him to think. Now, the more that I look at that, it was kind of looking like he was playing man, and he ended up peeling off, got into the zone, and it just, man, what a play. What a play. Got Tua to read it wrong. Aaron Rodgers, like we said, didn't play well. He talked a little bit about that, some of the problems they had. He talked about better play calling. I appreciate the fact that Matt LaFleur puts it on himself, but damn, quit saying it. Do it, do it. Rodgers didn't play well, and it's not an everyday occurrence, let's be honest. So I think, one of the news and notes out of this game was that he played kind of poor for his standards, and still they walked away with a win. I had mentioned earlier that I love the fact that they had that play action over to Big Dog in the end zone. He had a couple of big plays today, finally seeing him back. Preston Smith, I thought, played really well today. I thought TJ Slayton looked okay at times today, which you don't see him, get a lot of playing time, to where he actually looks good. Devontae Wyatt looked good today when he ended up coming in for Dean Lowry. I thought he played pretty well. Quay Walker, I thought, at times today looked pretty good. Angabari started off the game playing solid again. That guy just continues to make plays as a fifth-round draft choice this past year. Rasul Douglas had a day today. Boy, it was a shame to see Keyshawn Nixon go down. Oof, hope he's okay. I know he's got that groin. Man, you want to see him. Because we had a call, and whoever it was, if you're listening to the program, whoever it was earlier this week, who called and said they thought Keyshawn Nixon was going to take one to the house. Ooh, I was ready to give you all kinds of credit, man. Give you all kinds of credit, but damn, he almost took one to the house. Just that short. Just that short. But I thought there was a lot of things to take away from this. The Packers, as we said, all you wanted to do was come into this game and get a win, whether by 1 or 50. Just live to fight another day. And there's nothing better right now than the excitement of late season football. Nothing better. Just keep on battling. That's what Matt LaFleur said. So all in all, pretty good day in that particular sense. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. After the next segment, or after the next break, we're going to get to Aaron Rodgers. So we'll hear from him as well. Keyshawn Nixon, yeah, you're right. Going back to Michael over in the Bud Light live stream, needs to get healthy. You knock on wood, it's not too serious. Quay Walker had a little bit of a rough game. Not terrible, though. Quay Walker didn't look terrible. He was sideline to sideline, grabbing a couple of people, bringing them down from behind. At least he's got that kind of speed to do so. His biggest issue is, and we know this all season long, in the offseason, once he gets away, gets a little bit of rest, hits the weights, all that kind of stuff, you really want to see what he comes back with next year and his ability to get off blocks. That's it. You're looking for his ability to get off blocks. Christopher says, yeah, you're right. Douglas looked like he was a man on the hill. He ended up drop back in his zone and towards Gesicki, and ended up getting the pick. Yeah, it was really, he kind of baited him into it. The Bad TV guy says the fake punt almost ruined my Christmas. I'm right there with you, man. I just thought that the fake punt, at the time it came about, I thought the fake punt would, to me, a sign of desperation. I appreciate, don't get me wrong, I'm always one to say, look at the aggressiveness. Going for it on fourth down in your own territory. I think we're all kind of like, yeah, let's do this. And you get that fourth down, you got that burst of momentum and that energy, and off you go. It can propel you. The fake punt, I thought, oh, what are you doing? Not there. You do that at midfield. You don't do that deep in your own territory. You put your defense in a horrific position, but if anything positive came out of that, that was the last time the Packers gave up points. It was the last time the Packers gave up points. Think about that. The defense held them to a field goal. Not a bad way to go. When we come back, Aaron Rodgers, you're going to hear all of his thoughts coming out of this one and get some honest opinions. We'll see. Hang in there. This portion of the Green and Gold postgame show, as always, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. They are the official beer sponsor of the Green and the Gold, the postgame show. Packers get a win 26-20. They live to fight another day.
This is the post on the Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Packers get a win. They lived to fight another day, and the Green Bay Packers did what many thought was improbable, and that was to go down to Miami and knock off the Dolphins in Miami and get a win. There was so much talk going into this week about the weather and about how they don't play well in warmer temperatures and down in Florida. And now they're 2 for 2 this year. They knocked off Tampa Bay earlier this season, and now they've knocked off the Dolphins as well. It was more Packer weather than it was Dolphins weather. It was only the upper 40s, low 50s down at Hard Rock Stadium, but who cares? Packers go in there. They did what they needed to do. 26-20, they'd walk away with a victory. They lived to fight another day, and that's all you could ask for on this Christmas day of 2022. Aaron Rodgers going to the podium and talking to the media. Let's take a listen to what the quarterback has to say. Here he is.
How do you like this team's playoff chances right now?
Definitely better than 3 weeks ago. 4, I guess, because of the bye. Mike, yeah, what do you think? Pretty good, yeah. Getting better. A lot of things happen our way.
What can a win like this do for you guys? You had talked about how beating like the Rams and the Bears is one thing, beating these guys on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've struggled with confidence, but definitely haven't had a lot of believers outside the locker room, I don't think, so maybe this will give us a couple. But, I mean, we've been in a good rhythm, practice, energy, cohesion, and then playing a little bit better complementary football. It wasn't perfect, but that's a good football team, and they had a lot to play for, so it's a good win for us.
Aaron, did you feel you lost some things out there, offense today, and then on that note, how big was what the defense did in the second half for you guys?
Yeah, it was huge. I think we had some really key drives on offense, but we definitely left some points out there. Had some chances. Had Christian there on 4th down, just missed them, and we had the first drive of the game, obviously down inside the 10. You need to get 7 there to kind of start off the game the right way. But overall, when we had to have drives in the second half, we made it happen. Big drive starting third quarter. There was about 7 minutes and a touchdown to pull us back even. Then our defense just clamped down and played excellent football. And then we had to have a drive there with about 6 left in the clock, I think it was, in the 4th, and we took it down there and got points. Obviously, we'd like to get a touchdown, but that was a good drive for us.
Can you talk a little bit more about that drive early in the third quarter? What was the conversation within the locker room? Let's get off to a great start in the second half. and were you guys able to accomplish exactly what you wanted?
I mean, it wasn't super pretty, but we had a couple conversions, and PT had a nice catch and run for us, and we just did what we had to do there, getting 7 points. That was a good drive for us. We wanted to get back in the game and tie it up. Did that, and then the defense just clamped down and played excellent.
How many times have you made that throw to Mercedes just screwing around in practice, if ever?
Yeah, never. I'm not even a big fan of that concept, to be honest with you. But Rome had a two-way go on the one side. He chose inside, where outside probably would have been a little bit better. And then as it came back, PT made a great block on the back, or gave me a little bit of time. I just saw kind of Big Dog just kind of heading down the sidelines. Thought I'd lay one up for him, and made a nice play.
Yes. How many miles per hour he clocked at on that play?
20? 17. Yeah. Awesome.
Just the sidearm angle on that throw. What with the defender there, the hands up, I guess what just made you just kind of launch it that angle?
You drop it down a little bit. It's easier to get the trajectory that you want sometimes, especially when your shoulders are square. So I was just creating the angle just to put it kind of in a spot. I mean, I can't say that was a super confident throw. I was just hoping Big Dog would see it, and then that it was in somewhere vicinity we might get a catch or a PI, although we didn't really get any PI calls today.
How much is 33 playing through injury-wise?
Yeah, I got to ask him. I'm not sure. I know he was dealing with some stuff last week, and I heard he was dealing with some stuff this week too, so probably a decent amount. Hopefully, Christian's not too serious. I'm not sure what his status will be, but we had a lot of guys banged up today, and a lot of guys stepped up. Royce stepped up. Sav played a bunch. Ennis was out there. 24 was out there. Who else? PT. I said PT. PT played really well. So a lot of guys stepped up.
Coming into this game, the Giants lost, Washington lost, Seattle lost, Detroit lost, and you guys come out with a win. I guess how do you like your position, the next two games coming up?
I'd like to be, what are we, 7 and 8? I'd like to be, 10 and 5, 11 and 4. But considering where we were a few weeks ago, a lot has happened in our favor. All the games that need to go a certain way went a certain way. Now there's obviously much left, but again, we played meaningful games in December. We won all 3 of those. Now we're playing meaningful games in January. We got to win those.
Can you share something about the small conversation you had with Tua at the end of the game? Obviously, a tough game for him, 3 interceptions. You've been through that before. What did you tell him?
Some of the stuff I actually said this week, I just really appreciate the way that he handles his business and his professionalism. His just the way he goes about and speaks about his teammates. I think he's got a really good humility about him. He's a good, humble kid, very talented. I enjoyed watching him play in college. And I like the way he goes about his business. I think he handles things the right way with a lot of class, a lot of respect. And I told him to take care of himself too. He's had some pretty vicious hits this year, but he's a good kid. He's got a long career in the league to look forward to. And there's days like this, but he was still through for a hell of a lot of yards, and they got a lot of great weapons, and they're still in the hunt as well.
Good. Heard a lot of noise in the locker room. Obviously, is this kind of the biggest celebration you guys have had after a game this year?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they're all pretty big. The defense tends to celebrate a little bit louder. I think it's they get a turnover, they run down to the end zone every time. Offense, we just celebrate in the end zone. So they usually travel more distance to celebrate. So when they came up with all those turnovers, there was a lot of celebrating for the defense, and we were proud of them too. So I think we're all just enjoying the Christmas spirit.
Just to confirm, they had that encroachment penalty late. That was on purpose, right?
Yes, I think so. I looked over at the coach and gave him a thumbs up, and he was kind of gloating a little bit. No, that was it's 2nd and 1. That's a smart play to do because
There you go. That's Aaron Rodgers after the ball game. Good stuff from him. Just basically saying, hey, look, the defense, a lot of celebrating. That's a spirited group in there, man. Spirited group in there. 877-867-1670. You got something to say? Bring it. as we have heard from Aaron Rodgers, heard from Matt LaFleur. Want to hear from you. Don't forget, coming up here in about 15 minutes, we got Mike Clemens going to be joining us as well. We'll get his thoughts on this win. Packers knock off the Miami Dolphins, and they get themselves a win. And now they just to keep it going. Yet another week of talking about the possibility of making it into the postseason. Jeff, who says he's at Dolphin Stadium outside in the parking lot, said 44 degrees, felt like 37, but oh my God, what a Merry Christmas. We had a lot of fun down here. My family and I listening to you right now in our car radio on the app. Go Pack Go. That's from our buddy Jeff. Good stuff. This one's from Bruce. Bruce says, a huge Packer win today. I'm still not a big believer in Joe Barry's defense, but I got to give him credit. They didn't give up a point in the second half and 4 turnovers. Way to go, defense. This one's from Jason, who said, still not a big believer. They still have to prove it to me. You have to win next week. Maybe the Lions are going to become the Lions and falter down the stretch, but you got to beat a pretty good Minnesota team coming off of the highest of highs yesterday if you're going to prove yourself and get into the postseason. And then Randy says, this Packers team is starting to make me a believer. I'm feeling the Christmas spirit, as Aaron Rodgers said. Way to go, Randy. Good stuff. 877-867-1670. This one is, who's this from? This is from Viking fan. Awful day for the Packers. Lose draft position. No look at Jordan Love. More likely keep Joe Barry. Beat the Vikings, then get boat raced by the second seeded 49ers in the first round. Why would you take, let me ask you this, though. When you're saying the second seed, why would you not be the second seed? You know, why would the Vikings not be the second seed? Do you not have enough confidence that the Vikings are going to be the second? I mean, the Vikings, as of right now, are the second seed. You're 12-3, you're right behind the Eagles. Why would you not be the second seed? You know? Because the 7th seed would end up being the Packers if they get in, which that means they would then play the Vikings up there at US Bank Stadium, right? It would be most likely the Giants. That would be the 6th seed. They would play San Francisco, and then the 5th seed, Dallas Cowboys, would go down to Tampa Bay and play there. So, new. You know? And as a fan, you want them to have a chance. And when you talk about draft position and not getting a look at Jordan Love, who cares? You know? Although, if the Packers do get in, you got to wonder, because San Francisco, what their schedule looks like is they have the Raiders. They play in Las Vegas, and then they have the Cardinals at home. The 49ers very well could win the next 2, and if the Vikings would lose, I don't know who has the tiebreaker then, because they would have the exact same record between the Vikings and the 49ers. And then who would be the second seed? That's a good question. I don't know. So then, yeah, you would probably have the opportunity if you're the Packers, and the Vikings would not want or not be able to get the second seed. That means the Packers would go to San Francisco if that's the way it would work out. But if the Packers get in, I mean, let's just say the 49ers take a loss to the Raiders. You know, let's just say the weirdness happens, or to the Cardinals for that matter. But yeah, you would say the Vikings would be the 2 seed. So not arguing that point at all. Just goes to go. We're okay. Into it yet, Brett. So thank you very much. 7-867-1670. Coming up about 15 minutes, we got Mike Clemens going to be joining us. We are brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Green and Gold postgame show. Glad to have Bud Light along for the ride. More coming up right after this.
This is the Green and Gold postgame show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
They delivered. Nice gift. They knocked off the Miami Dolphins down in Miami, and they live to fight another day. It's going to go to next week. By the way, speaking of next week, Packers and Vikings 325. They stay there. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens game that has been flexed to Sunday night. Packers game stays the same. It's still a 325 kickoff up at Lambeau Field for the Packers and the Vikings. But the game on Sunday night has been flexed, and now it's the Steelers and the Ravens. That will be the contest coming up on Sunday night. Ravens, they're in the postseason. They've got 10
that the Green Bay Packers are a part of it. So there you go. Packers game remains the same. Pittsburgh, Baltimore been flexed to Sunday night, and the AFC is still quite the jumble over there right now, as Miami's still hanging on to that 7th seat. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. This is from Mark. Mark says, the gut punch of the day was having Keyshawn Nixon have that big return and not putting it into the end zone. That was almost unforgivable on Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers' part. That was, I thought, a really disjointed and poorly executed series. It just didn't seem like there was any rhythm. There was no plan. They were just throwing stuff at the dartboard to see if it would kind of work itself out. It just didn't look right. You know, it's like you had short situations and you're throwing the ball out of shotgun, but yet when you should be running the ball, you're not. And, you know, I know Aaron Jones with the ankle's been banged up, but it's like when he did get the opportunities, he was at least averaging over 4 yards or 3.5, 4 yards a carry, and you weren't giving him the football. And I don't know. It didn't seem good. Jake says, what do you think of Preston Smith's play? Preston Smith was solid today. Preston Smith was all over the field today. Pressure today on the outside, getting his hands up, obviously disrupting Tua a bit, and then playing the outside, even playing a little bit. He stunted twice to the inside, bringing down a ball carrier. It was like either the play call was perfect or Preston Smith just saw something. But I thought he was really, really good today, without a doubt. This is Mallory says, it's great to see a guy named Big Dog being able to eat. Again, what do you say about Mercedes Lewis? He stands very quietly all season long, and then all of a sudden in big moments he comes up huge. It's just so good to see, no doubt. Brett says you've gone international today. We kind of did, didn't we? You know, we were all over. We were taking calls from Delaware, Louisiana. We had a call from Saudi Arabia today. We're all over the place. All over the place. Who else is this from? This is from Anthony. Anthony says, hey unit, can we all just agree that Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers right now? Is it the thumb, or what else are we going to blame it on? No, I don't think so. I mean, unless it comes out that he got the thumb hit on a helmet or something like that sometime during the game, but he was just off. He's just had those. You know, there's been a couple of, it happens very infrequently. We all know that, but there are just times where he just looks off. You know, it's almost like either one, he's trying to be too precise and trying to put it all on his shoulders and sometimes succumbing to the pressure, or there are times where he is trying so hard to be the smartest guy and just throws something that's inexplicable. You know, and again, going back to the athletic column where it's the death stare. You know, I thought today Aaron Rodgers took ownership. I thought like he said in his postgame presser, he said, I missed some today. You know, when it should have been high and tight, it was low and away, and it wasn't real catchable. And when it was, I didn't lead the guy enough to have him pick up the extra yardage. And, you know, I thought he was pretty good in that, you know. What do you think of the secondary? And this is from Shy. I thought the secondary played pretty well. This is a really good group of weapons between Tyreek Hill and Waddle and company, and obviously Mostert running the football. The last time we really saw Mostert in a meaningful game, Mostert ran for over 240 plus yards and just chewed up the Packers. I mean, it was just an embarrassing performance for the Packers defensively when he was with San Francisco. So I kind of gulped hard at this one coming into this contest, but they did okay. You know, they only gave up 104 or 5 yards in the second half of this game. All the damage was done by the Dolphins in the first half. After that, they brought some pressures. They were getting home. You saw some guys that don't normally get playing time making plays. You know, you can't say, I just can't help but wonder, and maybe knock on wood, I can't help but wonder and then hope what the young talent begins to mature it to in the next year or even two. But you cannot help but look at a guy like Quay Walker, a guy like Devontae Wyatt. You can't help but look at them. And Enagbare, you know, and then to get Rashawn Gary back next year. You know, you look at a play like Keyshawn Nixon to bring him back, Rudy Ford, the depth at secondary, you know, getting Darnell Savage settled. You know, I mean, some of the guys that they would be then bringing back. Stokes would be coming back. and then get those guys in their second year. And then you start to look at Watson and Dubs and Samori Toure and who you going to bring back. What else are you going to add to this? You know, getting that all settled. It kind of gives you a little bit of hope, doesn't it? I don't want to sit here and buy in like I did at the beginning of the season where I said this was going to be maybe the top 5 defense in the league, because they've been far from it. And I think it's mainly due in part to the coordinator, but it does give you hope, right? It gives you a little bit, because they're starting to win when they need to. They're figuring things out. Now, 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins, 2 wins over 2 bad teams and 1 win over a good team does not a season make. And you're still scrapping just to find your way into the postseason, but at least there's some promise there. When we come back, Mike Clemens going to take us the rest of the way from inside the locker room. Stay tuned. Packers going to win 26-20. They knock off the Dolphins. We've got more of the Green and Gold postgame show next.
This is the Green and Gold postgame show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Off the Miami Dolphins down in Hard Rock Stadium. We now bring in our guy on the ground, Mike Clemens. And Michael, boy, I tell you what, it wasn't pretty. And you thought early on in this ball game, man, is this going to be end up being like a 46-43 type of shootout? But give a lot of credit to the defense in the second half of that ball game, because they came up huge. You have 4 out of 5 drives, they created turnovers.
Well, I was getting concerned in the second quarter that, it's possible that Tyreek Hill
and Jalen Waddle were going to run away with this game. And they seemed to make some, adjustments once they got going there. I'm in a fine mood. There was a ball that Aaron Rodgers threw to Romeo Doubs down the right-hand sideline. And the ball is snapped, and Rodgers is sort of planting his feet and hopping a little bit. But it's just the minute it left his hand, it's like, this is completely out of rhythm. I don't even need to know how the play is going to finish. There was just something that Rodgers was doing that I saw on a few plays today where he was just not in sync, with the snap, look, plant,
right,
throw. He's just kind of hopping around. Then he flips it. And so then as was for Doubs down the right side, he's covered and the ball goes incomplete. And 2 plays later, Rodgers throws that deep ball down to Lazard that gets intercepted in the end zone. So I kept on seeing plays like that. There was another time where Rodgers could have just thrown the ball over the middle or to the outside and just thrown incompletion because he's getting quick pressure on him. And instead he kind of dances out and tries to run for about 8 yards. Well, Josh Myers at centers is in pass protection. Now Josh kind of sees out of the left side of his helmet, oh, geez, the quarterback's running with it. And now he's trying to keep his guy from going after and hitting his quarterback. And what does he do instinctively? He ends up grabbing him. It's a 10-yard penalty. And there's little things like that to me where I'm wondering if Tom Clements is getting on Rodgers. But anyways, Aaron Rodgers, the cut one here, Connor, was on the offensive drives coming out of the second half of the game.
We had some really key drives on offense, but we definitely left some points out there. Had some chances. Had Christian there on 4th down, just missed them. And, we had the first drive of the game, obviously down inside the 10. Need to get 7 there to kind of start off the game the right way. When we had to have drives in the second half, we made it happen. Big drive starting third quarter. There was about 7 minutes and a touchdown to pull us back even. Then our defense just clamped down and played excellent football. And then we had to have a drive there with about 6 left in the clock, I think it was, in the 4th, and we took it down there and got points. Now, obviously, we'd like to get a touchdown, but that was a good drive for us.
Mike, I know Matt LaFleur talked about it, the 4th and 3, the kick for the field goal, and then they had that, ugly punt. They did some things in special teams that weren't great, and then they were good. And it just some weird decisions today, but they were aggressive on Matt LaFleur's part.
There was the moment, Bill, in the NFC Championship game at home against the Buccaneers where everybody thought, well, why didn't Rodgers just try and run it in for the touchdown? And then LaFleur sort of took the ball away from him and went for a field goal on 4th down. It kind of felt that way a little bit today. It's 4th and 3, and LaFleur had already gone for it on 4th down a number of times today. And instead, let's Mason Crosby kick the field goal. Let's go up 26-20 and see how we can, and he made that decision. He took the offense off the field at that time in the red zone on 4th down. Here's LaFleur's decision.
There was some discussion about if we could get into, I think it was at 4th and 3 at the end right there. We're trying to get to like 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 and then go for it. But it just made the decision, and I'm glad we made that decision because it ended up working out, and it doesn't always, but I kind of thought the way our defense was playing in the second half that we would keep them out of the end zone at least.
Mike, I guess, or at halftime, it sounded like coaching staff really got into the secondary on some of those big plays that they gave up in the first half, right?
Well, Matt LaFleur said this because to me, Bill, even watching tape on the Dolphins going into this week, once you're actually into it and then you see your guys that you've been watching and your defense up against them, Hill and Waddle are so fast off the line. And on top of that, the ball comes out of Tua's hands fast as well. And so, it's 2.5 seconds, and you're talking 35, 40-yard plays. And so LaFleur talked about how they kind of had to switch to, look, just forget about the receivers. Play Tua, play the ball, play what you see in the formations.
Well, I just think it comes down to all 11, playing the call and doing the best they can. And I think our guys, it seemed like we were getting a little bit more pressure up front on Tua, making a move out of the pocket. And we knew he's a guy that's going to anticipate, and he's going to let the ball go. But if you can read the quarterback the right way, that also gives you some opportunities defensively. And our guys did a great job of that. I think in the first half, there were a couple plays where we had some busted coverages and they got behind us. And, those are two guys that are as electric as it comes in the National Football League. And, if you give them a sliver of light, they're able to take a little 10-yard pass and to make it a house call. Just collectively, all 11 being on the same page, making sure we're not giving them as much green grass out there. And, our guys did a good job of reading the quarterback, and I thought Joe did a really good job in the second half.
Which is some people's fear, Mike, because when he says, I thought Joe did a great job in the second half, because some people have the fear that, games like this are going to save Joe Barry's job. And that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But in the meantime, Rasul Douglas, I'll tell you this, baiting Tua, basically looking like he was going to be in man, dropping back into that zone, picking the ball off, everything he did. I thought Rasul Douglas had a hell of a day.
Yeah, and he also said, hey, also losing Keyshawn Nixon not only as a return guy, but also as our nickel at times was rough. By the way, that groin injury is something that Nixon had coming out of the Rams game. He was limited in Wednesdays and Thursdays practice, so obviously something he re-aggravated on that big kick return. Rasul Douglas, though, says, after the poor first half, that their secondary coach, Jerry Gray, who usually is a guy just gives you instructions, uncharacteristically chewed them out at halftime.
Yeah, we was going over a play that we thought that they would run if they needed a first down or to get out of bounds and stuff. Coach went over it all week. I know the plays that they like running, and I'm going off field, trying to keep them in front of me and keep them in bounds, more so because they used all their timeouts. And just going off field, if I feel like I can go get something, I'm going to try to end it. If not, just play the situation.
Yeah, I made a mistake there. That's what he was talking about, the final interception that he made, where Tyreek Hill was running the slant, and they're trying to bait him to take that.
Right. When,
in fact, what they see over and over again is that on that play, they're going to try and dump it out to the sidelines to their tight end, Mike Gesicki, and that's how Rasul got that pick. Now he says afterwards, he said, yeah, poor second half. Here's where he talks about OG Jerry Gray chewing him out.
First half, we kind of gave up a couple of explosive plays, and that's what we didn't want to do. We came here with the mindset of if they don't get as many explosive plays, we'll be good. So the second half, OG came in, cursed us out bad. We just we got to play better. And I thought second half we played better.
Well, let me say this: the cursing out, rightfully so. to be perfectly honest with you, the secondary was given. Tua was averaging, I think, 26 yards per pass play in the first half.
Yeah. And so then Mike McDaniel, Dolphins head coach, just finished up. He talked about what happened to them breaking down in the second half, being held pretty much scoreless there toward the end of the game. And now he's lost his last four games in a row.
Coming out of halftime, just where our guys were at, I didn't foresee standing up here really in this situation. So I know the team feels the same way. So it's, apparently we needed another gut check.
Yeah, not a great look for that team right now as they continue to falter and they can't figure out how to kind of pull themselves out of this nosedive. And Tua really didn't help the cause much.
No, but I tell you, what a pleasant guest to have or host at Christmas, right?
Yeah.
You go to the guy's house and he's handing out all the gifts. By the way, it's trending right now is Tua turn the ball over as an
right.
It's a new nickname for him. But here's the Dolphins quarterback on the holiday.
Well, first off, Merry Christmas, everyone. Yeah. On the first one, I tried to throw it over a defender, but I ended up really throwing over the defender and Tyreek. So that one got away. The second one, I might have said the wrong play. I'm not too sure. But there was just some communication errors on that. And then the third one was just not a good ball.
Mike, now we got a whole week to talk about success and hope, and obviously the Vikings are coming to town, and it's so reminiscent. I was telling this story. I know we're running short on time, but that game against Chicago when the Packers, all they had to do was lose and they were eliminated, and I remember Brian Urlacher saying after the game, I think we let the giant wake up. Wouldn't the irony be is if the Vikings got beat next week, the Packers then ended up going to U.S. Bank Stadium and knocked them out of the postseason?
Well, you just want to make sure that Christian Watson there, who had to leave the game with a hip injury, you'd like to see him catch a deep one on these Vikings.
Yeah, no doubt. Mike, great stuff as always. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas. We're off tomorrow. We'll be back at it on Tuesday. I'll talk to you then, okay?
Merry Christmas, Billy.
Appreciate it, bud. Connor producing the program. Ben, who is in Philadelphia. All of you listening all throughout Great Parts Unknown. One more time on this Christmas Day before a crowd of 66,328. Green Bay Packers live to fight another day. It was Green Bay 26 and Miami 20. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas Day, and all of you have a very Merry Christmas. We'll talk again on Tuesday. Until then, time for us to go.